Today's guest is Mary Hope, who helps high capacity entrepreneurs regulate their nervous systems so they can expand their capacity, attract the right clients, and lead from alignment. Through somatic intelligence, breathwork, and leadership performance, Mary helps entrepreneurs move out of fight or flight and into grounded execution. So today we're talking about nervous system regulation, leadership capacity, and why sustainable growth requires more than strategy. Boy, do I know that. How are you, Mary Hope?
Oh, thank you so much for the beautiful introduction. I am so good. So grateful to be here with you, Chrissy.
Absolutely. I love that you include the hope in your name because I feel like just having people say that just elevates things. Mary Hope, Mary Hope's going to give me hope.
Spread hope far and wide.
And so, how did you get into this line of work?
Yeah, someone actually just asked me that on my last call. I learned a lot through my own discoveries and healing. And, I was always interested in the body ever since I was in college and was always in sports, was a collegiate athlete. And, even after college, I became a personal trainer. I had my own fitness business. But really, it was all around the time right before quarantine. I started to with 6, 7, 8-figure entrepreneurs. I was running different careers as well while I was running my fitness business. And, I was recognizing more and more that there were so many of us that were successful on the outside, but just so dysregulated on the inside. I didn't even know what it meant at the time. So just through all of these years, there was a near-death experience that I had experienced right after quarantine. I was on 7 different substances because I was reaching for things outside of myself through that span of that year just to make it by. And it got more and more and more. And I share that because, I'll never forget when I looked in the mirror and I literally said, I cannot keep going like this. My skin was awful. I was experiencing so many different things, even though I was showing up at the gym. I was doing all the right things. I was still meditating. I said, this just does not make sense. So I took everything completely, not only in my own hands, but certifications. I spent thousands and thousands of dollars and hours, studying. But it wasn't just about the studying and through the process of self-study. I was really actually fully experiencing true nervous system regulation from the inside out, that I was starting to create my own rhythm and methodologies of, okay, this is actually what this means. And so I've just been obsessed ever since. And I mean, it was a complete 180. And I literally said, I want every single person, even if you're not a business owner or entrepreneur, I want everyone to experience this because no, it's not about being perfect, but it's about living in the freedom and the peace that we're meant to live in.
I love that. Yeah, I'm obsessed with my nervous system too. I'm sure it drives people a little bit crazy because I'm like, well, my nervous system and my nervous system and or like, oh, I feel my nervous system's a little activated today. I better watch it. I'm sure they're like, oh my gosh, already.
Sprinkle
But
it in.
I know, I mean, I'd say this now. I was just saying it to my husband that because of my autoimmune issue, my nervous system literally is a business asset. It's a life or death situation. And, when my nervous system isn't regulated, I am so much more likely to have anaphylaxis. And I did go into anaphylaxis on July 4th weekend. And I know I should not have pushed it by eating the hot dog that I did because I could have told you my nervous system wasn't regulated that weekend. And so even though it was, you think hot dog, not a big deal. Hot dogs are high in histamine. So when I'm not regulated, I really shouldn't try and push it. And I did. And it's like, that's how important nervous systems are. It's the difference between a hot dog activating you or not. And it's so crazy. It's like I want everyone to get it too.
That's a powerful story as well, too. Exactly what you shared. There's all of these different ways that we don't realize that really just ties into the nervous system.
Absolutely. And when it comes to the nervous system itself, how do you describe that to people? Because I think sometimes people hear that and they're like, yeah, okay, so what is it, like the tingly things on me? What is it?
Yeah, I love that. I always just say it's our main operating system. It's our true connection to everything that signals all of the signals from God, from what we're feeling, it sends to our heart, our brain. I try to explain it to people in like first grade term by saying, yes, once this fires, you're going to feel stress. Like that's where your nervous system carries it. So it's not just the stress waves, it's the joy waves. So it's just our true operating system.
I love that. Have you gotten to go to that Body Works Expo with the actual bodies that have been preserved?
No.
It
Tell me
is
more.
fantastic. And they have a nervous system on display. It's so cool. I mean, it's everything in there. It's so neat because it looks just like nature. It's like all the blood vessels and everything and just mimic everything we see in nature as well. And it was just so cool to see just how intricate the nervous system is and how delicate it looks. Seeing it they had it kind of like on this clear glass where I guess it was pressed in there. I'm sure it was a booger to extract, but it was really powerful getting to see it. I highly recommend that display.
Wow. That sounds really powerful, especially to see it visually.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people don't know about the vagus nerve as well. And they don't realize how important that one is. Can you speak a little bit about the vagus nerve?
Yeah, the vagus nerve I feel like it's so underestimated because it's really all about allowing us to have that vagal tone. So, even for example, speaking, I always say when we talk and we have that echo chamber go down, our nervous system, it really flows into our vagal tone, the vagus nerve, the main source of really essentially sending the signals to our brain to be able to do what's next, right? Or if you see a spider and you're in fight or flight, or you're running from XYZ, the vagus nerve is something that, okay, I'll give an example actually. When people are in fight or flight, the vagus nerve starts to get super used to that operation. And let's say that you're used to holding your breath, and the vagus nerve will start to fire and wire different signals to the heart. So there's things, especially with people with panic attacks, which is something that I experienced as well, anxiety, all of that, it will start to get very used to that rhythm. So the vagus nerve is something that it's actually very detrimental if you don't realize that that's the rhythm that your heart is used to. I had experienced so much of that when I was experiencing my anxiety and my panic attacks, to where it would even be like, okay, I held my breath. Oh, now my heart wants to beat a thousand times because it thinks, it's going to be going into a panic attack or whatever it might be. And even if I wasn't afraid and I was calm, it was still doing that because of the vagus nerve. And so it's a very important part of us to not only nurture, because it's going to allow everything that you do will add up over time to be able to help that just come in harmony with everything.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great example. And in looking back at my own body, I'm like, oh yeah, that is how it works. I find myself humming a lot to try and get that. I call it activating, and I think that might be misleading for people. Like, why would you want to activate a nerve? So, but I guess in this context, activating it, it's okay. And I know they have those devices. Have you ever used the devices
Which one?
like for activating the vagus nerve?
I I know I've used some devices, but elaborate more on which ones.
There's just this one that, like, I guess goes back here or something. I've not tried it because I'm not fully understanding how it works.
Ah,
What about tuning forks? Have you ever used tuning forks?
yes.
Yeah. So what did you do with the tuning forks?
Gosh, it was so long ago. I think I was actually at an expo. And honestly, I can't really remember my full experience before I launched my new business. So I was actually deep in the discoveries of the nervous system. What is
Got it.
your experience with it?
I have some, but I don't know what to do with them yet. So
Yeah.
my daughter got them for me because she knows I'm trying to use all the modalities I can. So I know I listen to binaural beats and I love the bowls, so I have a bowl.
I was
Have you
just
ever,
using all.
yeah, have you ever
Yeah,
had a sound bath?
of course.
I want to have one of those. Well, I want to have a real one. We've done it where we put it on the speakers, the surround speakers, and that's really cool. But we want like the real sound bath. So, what was that experience like for you?
Oh, I've had a lot of sound baths. The sound bath is really great for the vagus nerve and the nervous system. And that actually really allows you to feel just the vibration, not only from the frequencies of music, because I listen to frequencies quite often. And it's so, you have to experience it. Anyone that's listening to this as well, it's different than just experiencing it, while you're listening to something, but something in person and feeling that vibration. It really is truly like taking a bath of sound, especially when they let the bowls come around you. Sometimes they'll use different noises that sound like an ocean, and it literally, you can feel your entire nervous system and the vagus nerve, like almost like a light tingle as if someone's massaging you. It is awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, I've experienced it to some degree. Like we used to have a yoga instructor who would finish out the session with the bowls, and that was so wonderful. But yeah, getting the full experience of the bath is something I'm looking forward to. Um,
Mm,
and then I've seen a lot of people lately standing on salt. Is that something you're familiar with?
I have not yet stood on salt, but I I'm into everything though, so tell me more.
I see that it's like the Epsom salt, and so they're putting it on a flat sheet, baking sheet or something, and then standing on it. And I haven't tried it yet myself, so I'm curious about it. But um,
My guess would be that they're looking to reduce inflammation or just basically calm and allow the salt to move through your body. I'm curious to know too the effects of that.
I'm gonna have to try it now. I have some salt. I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
try it. Um, what are some of your favorite modalities?
I love this question because I love how we all have modalities. And yeah, Chrissy, it's really for me, my favorite ones are meditation. I love, love, love meditation. There's so many different ways that I meditate. So some of my favorite ones, even I think a lot of people, have this constraint around meditation because it's about time, but really for me, it's about connection. And so there's a lot of power, not only with the mind, the subconscious mind, we can go deep, but that all connects with the nervous system. So it will help ground you in moments. So I'm meditating throughout my day, different types of meditation. I love breath work, but even just the simplest forms of breath. I love movement, working out, yoga. Um, I honestly also I love to sing and I love to speak out loud. As we talked about the vagal tone, you know, you don't realize more and more that humming, just what we talked about. I love to hum and I love to sing because that just really allows you to not focus on anything else, but to focus on the song or focus on the breath. And then when we focus on the breath, when we focus on the song, we don't have anything else to worry about but the present moment.
I love that. And I know when there might be somebody listening and they're going, "Oh my gosh, they're talking about all this woo stuff." And you touched your necklace a second ago, and I was like, "Oh yeah, we got to talk about they're not opposing forces."
Yes.
Yes, your faith is not an opposing force to these modalities.
Oh, no. I mean, we could go deep in the codes about faith. I mean, your faith is going to be the thing that's going to manifest all the abundance in your life, no matter what you believe in or not. But having just that faith in who you are and having that firm belief system, no matter whatever God of your own understanding, I think too, oftentimes people have that mistake of, okay, well, meditation, breath, woo, all of the above. We still can be having the other experiences and we're on stage and we're traveling and we're doing all these different things. Nothing is ever perfect, but it's literally all about implementing every single thing in your life. So you're making this a lifestyle. Nervous system regulation is a lifestyle. So I love to actually allow different modalities, especially with my clients, to help them understand how they can just actually literally fit these into their lives. Because the more that we start to think about we have to create time for something, the further away it gets, the more resistance we create. So it's coming back to this is about you living for your joy.
I love that. And you're right about fitting it in. I hear that a lot. Oh, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. And I always tell them, like if it's 5 minutes of somatic yoga, great, do that. Or you had something on your Instagram, I think it was yesterday, where it was like 15 seconds or something for resetting. And I was like, see, that took no time.
Absolutely. I just created another one today. I think that's my most favorite thing. I love that you mentioned that I'm really in the moment when sometimes I don't even think that, oh, do I even have time to create content right now because I'm in between different things. Of course, it'll come with time and I have my different things that are mapped out. But that's something that I'm starting to share more of is, hey, I only have this much time. This is exactly what I'm going to do. So I might as well just film this. This is actually literally what I'm going to do. Let me show you. And here you go. And then it's just that quickness. Nothing has to be perfect. So I think that that's my most favorite thing to share with people right now as well is you're going to feel the difference and you're going to be shocked with how quick it was.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't gotten to try the actual one that you did, but I'm like, okay, I got to try this because it looked interesting because you did it in like 15 seconds. It was so fast. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
awesome. I love breath work as well. And it's funny because, I started on this journey a long time before my husband did. And I remember it was about a year ago and I was telling him about box breathing. And he was like, oh, so that's what you've been doing in the car all those times? I'm like, yes, if I was feeling stressed about the traffic or the way you were driving, I was. So,
That is powerful, Chrissy, because in knowing you and your story, and even for all your listeners, you've come so far. And to hear that as well coming from you, it shows that you're like silently behind closed doors doing the work. And I think that oftentimes when you realize it starts to implement into your life as like, okay, it's not even work anymore. You're just creating that intimacy, that repetition for your body. You're saying yes to it's essentially literally just rewiring yourself. And that's powerful.
yeah, for sure. And I'm smiling because, I went to the doctor, so just the normal physician, and, they always make you take a deep breath, inhale, exhale, that stuff. Well, I was barely into my breath whenever she was like, and exhale. I'm like, wait, that wasn't a big breath. I'm like, who is that a big breath for? And it was just funny because I was like, oh my gosh, is that considered a big breath for most people? Yeeks. I yeah, like I said, I was just getting started with my breath, because I've been doing so much breath work that my lung capacity is so big now that you can count to the 10 and then, okay, now we got to count to the 12 exhale or whatever one we're doing.
I love hearing that because you're literally expanding your capacity to receive, expanding your capacity to hold more stress, to hold more joy. It's just that ongoing expansion to be able to carry more.
Yeah. And, I tried this one breath work recently. I can't remember what it was called, but it was where you inhale to the abdomen and then you inhale up to the chest. And then, if I remember correctly, you hold and then you exhale through the mouth. That was really hard for me to do. And it was interesting to work through. I don't know if I'll ever do that one again, but I was like, you know what? I will practice. I will do it once and see, maybe twice and see. My fingers started to get tingly. And what was interesting was because I've had anaphylactic shock before, I know what my body felt like, and I started getting a very similar feeling. And I had the opportunity to go, no, you're completely in control of your body right now. You don't have to do that. And I was able to calm it back down. And I was like, that's an interesting tool to be able to have if I do have some sort of anaphylaxis to where I can make it not as bad or not make it worse, with breathing and just going, no, I'm in control. So that was a really cool, even though, like I said, I don't know if I'll do that breath work again because it kind of felt a little trippy, but I tried it. So
Wow, I love that you shared that story because that also shows that that's so powerful that you're not only harnessing the power of your mind through the breath, you're signaling to yourself that you're safe. And that's another thing about breath work. Yet again, whoever's listening to this, you can literally just big, deep breath in, full breath out. It's so simple. You don't even have to learn Wim Hof's, all of these different modalities. And I think just coming back to that simplicity of our breath, it is so underestimated. And the fact that you shared that, it really reminds me that, I think the first thing that I was starting to discover back when I was getting my certification was it's really all about harnessing the power of our mind, because what we're doing too is we're sending signals to different parts of our brain, just like we talked about seeing that spider, where you're like, oh wait, actually, hold on. It's not, I'm actually safe. So you're allowing yourself to be so calm. So then it's sending it back down to through your vagus nerve to your nervous system and coming back into your parasympathetic, and you're ready. And that's why we do regulation, activation, back to regulation. And so it sounds like you did more of a Wim Hof breath
That
where your hands get tingly. Yeah.
Yeah, and after you said that, I was like, that's what it was. Yeah. Yeah. And you bring up a good point about the parasympathetic system, because I don't think a lot of people really fully understand what that is and what it means. Will you go
Yeah.
into more of that?
Yeah, it's our rest and digest. It's when people think about too stress, and the sympathetic nervous system is really all about being able to carry and hold that, because what are we doing? We're always getting up and getting out there. We're going, we're doing, we're active. So there has to be activation. Just like when we do our breath, you think about regulate, activation, regulation. So the parasympathetic is really all about that regulation. Imagining as if when you're breathing in, a lot of times people think about that big breath in, but you forget the breath out is just as important. So you want to make sure that you're pushing all the way out, because that's going to send signals to your parasympathetic, that rest and digest. So coming back into that place, that's why when we eat and we reach for things outside of ourselves, let's say that you have anxiety and we notice, well, let me just eat a bunch of food and let me just do all of this because we know that we're going to go into parasympathetic. It's going to make us sleepy. So that's our substance. And of course, there's all these different things that we'll do. But it's the same thing that, oh, wait a minute. I know that I actually don't need to keep going to reach for that. I don't need to be standing in my kitchen at 10 p.m. every night because I think that I have anxiety, because I think that that's going to be the medicine for my parasympathetic. I know that I can send my breath. And then you start to practice that, you realize, and then you harness the power of your mind, you harness your nervous system, and then you realize, oh my gosh, I just overcame that. And that's kind of part of the life loops that we learn.
Yeah. You know, it, I've always known that the body was an amazing thing, but I didn't fully understand until I started to explore some of this and experience it myself. And, like I said, I started this journey years before my husband. So he thought I was going a little nuts. He thought I was like cuckoo. And then he started to see the changes in me. And so then he was like, wait, let me explore this a little bit. What is this breath work you're talking about? And then he dove into the science. And then, we've also been able to share it with other people. And, talking about it aligning with my faith. I think that was the thing that always kind of scared me from all of this, was I didn't want it to, try to erase God. And I am finding that I have more alignment now than I did growing up as a kid, going to church 3 times a week. It's like, no, I actually have a relationship where constant prayer, whether it's a one sentence prayer, it's like constant meditation. I mean, even the Bible says we're to meditate. So, meditation isn't shutting God out. Meditation is just shutting up.
I love that. Oh my gosh.
And, when I first started meditating, it was Tina Myers. She's one of my amazing friends, and she had this meditation group, 40 days in a row. And it was, we had a WhatsApp group, and you had to meditate for at least 15 minutes a day. And she sent us a book. I can't remember the name of the book. It's really, really small, but it was, you had to, like, if you didn't meditate, you had to just go, you know what? I broke the chain. I'm going to leave the group now. And it was just honor system, just to keep that container filled with energy. And I did 80 days in a row on that time. And it was so cool because I didn't think I'd be able to get even 10. and I did 80, and then I stopped counting after 80 because it just became part of my lifestyle. But I started with counting my breath, 1, 2, and that was how I was able to stop all the outside noise. So that's what worked for me. What about you when you first started your meditation?
Wow. Thank you so much
That
for
was a lot. I know. Sorry.
no, I love it. I'm collecting it all. I thank you so much for sharing that and the fact that you were really learning how to count your breath. And that's so important too, because that brings us back into the present moment. And you had asked what was my first experience with meditation?
Yeah, because I know it can be intimidating for people sometimes.
Absolutely. Honestly, I really just want to reflect back to you, Chrissy. I love your yearning for God. I love that you're wanting to even connect more with what you've been shared from where you were raised. And that's really, truly all about meditation is not only are we getting to know ourselves on a deeper level, we're harnessing the power of our mind, we're letting our thoughts go by, getting closer to God. So for me, I started implementing it a handful of years ago. And I used to always be that type of person who was like, well, I can't sit still. There's no way. You're basically always trying to search for something, especially with new timers. They're like, where are the answers? But instead, what's so powerful about meditation is you start to really learn to love it when you realize that there's no constriction on time or exactly what you're meant to receive. And obviously, I shared there's different types of meditation, but my most favorite ones are fully sitting in stillness to where I'm going inward, to where I'm letting my thoughts, if they try and go by, I'll acknowledge them. But then the more that I go inward, I'm fully surrendering. It's a full surrender. You're literally just so content with being still. And it's yet again, it's a practice, but it's so much fun because the more that you are ready to just listen, everything comes through and whatever that's going to mean for you. But for me specifically, I always hear God. So it's direct channel. You're allowing yourself to receive. And then once I started to discover that more and more, that's when I became more obsessed. And I was doing it as well, morning and night. Of course, those are really important windows for us. That's for a whole other topic.
That's awesome. I love that. And I love that you said your favorite type, because there are different types. There are types for people who are active and they're like, oh, I can't sit down. There are active meditations people can do. Is there a favorite kind of guided meditation that you like to do?
Yeah, I actually just created one a couple weeks ago. I'm going to start doing this again, but when
Nice.
it comes to guided meditations, I I will typically do them with music, and sit there with music. Or I'll share one is one of my favorites is Nico's Vision Espresso. There's one that's implemented before I listen to my vision. So that's actually literally my favorite guided meditation is listening to my Vision Espresso. Anyone listening to this would probably have to look into what that is. But being able to hear yourself back, that's really powerful too. But also to other guided meditations that really drop you into visualization. So even if it's not the Vision Espresso, I think that those are so important because when we can see ourselves regulated, maybe you've been stressed or chronically fatigued or you're suffering or whatever it might be, but you can really get yourself in that place of visualization, that's going to be really profound and powerful for you to continue with your healing.
Yeah, absolutely. And being able to decide which one is right for you is important, because I want to make sure people don't get hooked up on like, I have to do this particular kind. It's like, no, you do what works for you and how it works for you. Um, and I want to speak about, like, there are those days when, yep, it's just not happening right now. Like, you sit down, you try to meditate, nope, not happening. Like, whether it's outside distractions that they keep getting thrown at you. How do you handle those situations?
Love this. It's called pivoting, positive pivoting. So, all right, today is not meditation. You're literally pivoting to something else. And what is that next best thing? What is the next best practice? You're
So maybe it's coloring.
coloring, or you're just going to go outside and you're going to walk in the sunshine without your phone, or you're bending down and you're stretching really quick, or whatever it might be. It's really to get out of your head and into your heart.
I love that. I saw you did on the Instagram that you were coloring, and I was like, man, I haven't colored in a long time. I need to color.
You can color at your
Yeah. I used to, this is really funny, but in high school, I carried a lunchbox of markers because I would color in class while I was listening.
Chrissy. That's
I
just so cool.
I thought I was weird, but I was like, I don't know. I still want to color. And I guess maybe because I was also an athlete, people are like, yeah, we'll just let her be weird and color. We won't say anything.
I think you should bring it back.
Maybe I should. It was a yellow Tupperware lunchbox. I'll never forget it.
Oh my gosh. I think that it's just a sign to bring it back.
I'm gonna
People are
have
going
to
to run
ask,
to your office and you're going to be coloring.
and maybe I can make the yellow Tupperware lunchbox popular again.
You're starting a trend. I'm already like, where can I get one?
I'm gonna have to ask some of my friends from high school if they remember coloring. I know some of the times they would ask me for markers to color as well. And I'm still friends with a lot of people from high school, even from elementary. Our group stayed really tight.
Oh,
So
oh,
I think there used to be me being weird.
it's not weird. I think it's
Right.
expressing who you are. And I love that.
I'm like, maybe I should do my own coloring book too of things. I mean, I did do the children's book, but um, do you like the ones that are like color by number or just free color? What's your favorite?
I've been getting there's ones that are mind coloring. So they're like dedicated to, I have one sitting actually right.
I don't
It's
think I've
called
heard of that.
Mind Waves. It's calming coloring. So there's just a lot of different, it's like more detailed. It's just awesome. And I really enjoyed that. When I was younger, I really loved fuzzy posters. I don't know if anyone ever remembers those.
Yep. That's awesome. Well, and the fuzzy poster goes into the texture part of things. I did this I don't even know what you call it, but it's called PQ. And it was one of the things was they called it a PQ rep, a positive quotient, I guess. And you're literally just sitting there concentrating on what it feels like to touch your own hands or touch your arm or whatever. And that's been a really quick thing I can do sometimes if I find myself like in public and I'm feeling like, oh gosh, there's a lot happening here. I can do something like that. So what are some of the biggest things that people come to you as busy entrepreneur, busy executive? What are the main themes that you're seeing with these clients?
Yeah. And I love that you mentioned about touch. I think that that's where it comes to is focus. Everyone kind of feels a bit disconnected, scattered. There's a lot of the that comes through the most is time and energy, and of course money. But it's just this circle of wanting more of that, and yet it's what they're doing is there's just so much more disconnection and dysregulation. So most of my entrepreneurs are out or they feel like they've been trying everything. And I always tell them it's really all about simplicity. And there's so much behind the nervous system staying creative because I tell them if it's going to be something one day, I'll ask them at the end of the day, did you find one thing that was fun today? Or where was the joy? And we have to remember to come back to that place. So a lot of times people are actually lacking that joy and that fun, that freedom. And I understand when there's a lot of stress, when there's a lot of overwhelm, but that's exactly why, really just allowing yourself to implement these practices throughout your day, sprinkling them in and letting yourself feel that repetition. That's really all it takes is that consistency, that repetition. And then you'll realize more and more that you're so much more creative. When you're creative, you're the most wealthy and you are the most abundant. And that's my goal is to help everyone stay so creative.
I love that. Yes, I recently realized, gosh, I love to create and I haven't been doing it as much. And I told my team, I was like, okay, got to change. Something has to change because I need to have space to create because I'm not feeling fulfilled. And I could tell too that I was way too much in my amygdala and not my prefrontal cortex enough. And that's a necessity to actually operate from the prefrontal cortex. And
Yeah.
just having fun is so much more important than just having a giggle.
Oh, and I know you are so creative. And I see we had spoken before this about that you're building systems right now. And I think that that's so powerful as I'm doing the exact same thing so that we can stay creative. This is everything.
Yeah, get those boring systems. You and I both have Daniel building systems for us, and Daniel has been a guest on my podcast too. And he said for him that feels creative to create these systems, and I was like, great, because it doesn't for me. So it's whatever is creative for you. But yeah, I'm so glad that you're finding the systems to put in place so that you can be creative. Were you finding that these uh, executives and entrepreneurs, were you finding that they were going, oh gosh, yeah, I'm not experiencing joy or any kind of happiness or fun?
Yeah, because once we unpack in the session, that's my goal is not to have people realize that they're lacking something of like what they're missing, but it's to help them take that step toward change that will benefit them. So that's something that I've just realized more and more verbatim. Wow, I realized I haven't been having fun. I realized, I'll see tears of joy literally come through from people saying, oh my gosh, I realized that I wasn't actually experiencing this. Even after the first week, things start to open up because they realize that, oh my gosh, I was taking everything so seriously.
That right there, taking things so seriously.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I struggled not to take myself too seriously, and to the perfection side of things, and um, gosh, this must have been like last year, but I was super stressed, and out of the blue, one of my friends sent me a text, and she was like, "Hey, have you had any joy this week?" And I was like, "Okay, one really random, but glad you followed on that random thought that popped in your head, because no, I have not." And so she just reminded me to go do something fun, whether it's be silly with the dogs or, thank, I will say having Sienna as a daughter allows me to be silly sometimes because, she doesn't take life as seriously. Being special needs, she's more about joy.
Yeah.
And anyone who's been around special needs, people with special needs, there's a lot of joy around there. So if you need some joy, go volunteer at one of one of those organizations. You will experience joy for sure. Um, but what about, let's say someone they recognize it, but they're still feeling stuck. Like they know they're not experiencing the joy. How do they take that first step?
Mm. If they know that they're not experiencing that joy, I usually like to ask, where are you spending the most time? And what do you feel like it's taking away joy? So start to really dissect on really getting honest with yourself of, what's really blocking you from experiencing that joy? What are some of the things that you're currently doing right now? What are the emotions behind what you're feeling and currently experiencing? Is it frustration? Is it over? Are you, how often do you experience that? So even just diving a little bit deeper, because it is case by case with every person, but even just taking that first step is, I would recommend even just one, when you first wake up, that first thought, it must be gratitude. No matter where you are at in life, no, this doesn't mean you need to wake up and go sit down and write down 3 things that you're grateful for. You are literally embodying gratitude immediately, living, breathing, walking gratitude, because that scientifically will literally rewire your entire nervous system and to live in abundance. And so gratitude and just waking up and allowing yourself to receive. I usually typically say that's where when most of people aren't experiencing the joy, there's a reason, and they'll say it's because I don't have time and don't have this or whatever it is. I always say, why don't you start with the morning and allow yourself to even just a little bit more of a window to where you're waking up and you're just receiving rather than waking up and it's output, output, output. It's where can you start to get yourself into regulation, into relaxation, into just being alive. You will experience more joy than ever before when you realize, holy cow, I'm alive. This is nuts. Then your mind just starts to expand from there.
I'm glad you brought that up because I know the first thing most people do is grab their phones and then they start scrolling and then they wonder why they're grouchy the whole day or they're angry or jealous or something. And that was something I learned in the PQ studies as well. So that we would say that we were grateful for something right away. And then we would do a PQ, which is literally 10 seconds,
Mm.
literally 10. Everyone has 10 seconds that they can do just to tell the nervous system, like, this is awesome. Today's going to be great. We're safe. We're good. And yeah, that's been a really big change for me. So I'm glad you brought that up. Uh,
Wow.
what do you say to people? Because I hear this from people, and I'm not really fully sure what to tell them. If they're in a situation where they aren't actually safe, maybe it's a rough area of town or they've got a spouse or partner or whatever that they're like, I don't know how today's going to go. What do you tell those people?
Mm. Yeah. This is to all the people that might be experiencing this right now. And that, when you feel your heart race or anxiety starts to rise, or you are in a situation where it doesn't feel safe, it's really coming back to how it's not about what you carry, it's about how well you carry it. No, this doesn't mean you have to be a master at this. It just means that you're really, you're recognizing. The first part is awareness. Okay, I recognize that this might not be safe. What's the first best thing? And I would always say, start doing deep breaths. Give yourself those moments of just deep breaths, knowing that it's everything in our lives are temporary. So instead of thinking about what do I need to look at the future for? What can I do right here, right now? How can I go into the situation? You had mentioned like a relationship or a partner, or maybe there's like an argument going. It's all about communication. It's all about connection. So how can you get yourself in a state, even just with your breath and even with helping yourself calm your mind? Because when you can calm your mind, it'll get your body back into signals. So let's say maybe you are starting to get activated. Ways to do this, instead of telling yourself over and over, oh no, now I'm doing this, now I'm doing that. Actually, what you speak about yourself as well is going to help you through that process. So the more that you start to amp that up, oh no, I'm freaking out, this always happens. You really want to speak so unconditionally loving to yourself, because unconditional love and through your breath and all of this will actually help you calm the situation no matter what's happening. And then that will actually help you make those clear decisions, because otherwise you're going to be super cloudy, whether that means you are supposed to go run somewhere and take off and run or whatever it might be, because that's going to help you with those decision making.
I love that. Yeah, because that helps get you out of the amygdala as much as possible. That's great. I love that. Is there something that you were like, I really hope we talk about this today?
Yeah, I feel like the word connection just keeps coming through for me. And I think that it's connection and distraction. And you kind of mentioned about the phone and, different things that could be distracting, but it really comes back to, I want to talk more about how can we all, no matter who's listening to this, have more of a dedication and focus in who we are, and really coming back to heart coherence. I want to talk a little bit more about heart coherence that's connected to the nervous system.
I love that. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because I know in a lot of um, other medicine, like not medicine, but other cultures, the heart is really the center of it, not the brain. And we kind of treat it the opposite here. So, yeah,
Yeah.
expand on that.
Yeah. Heart coherence is so powerful because, as you're understanding more and more, even if you're not sure what nervous system regulation is or whatever it is that you're doing, when we can be in coherence with our heart, connecting to our brain, connecting to our body, that whole body line system, everything it's imagining as if your heart is coming out of your chest, because when your heart leads, your body follows. So it will literally allow you to heal any and all anxiety, It will help you make those clear decisions because you're no longer operating from fatigue, from distraction, from disconnection, from lack of focus. And that's why I was sharing about focus, because when we can really help our focus and our connection, our heart expands. And this is where you're going to attract all of the aligned clients, all of the relationships, everything that you want in your life to create that freedom and peace. But it's not just a woo spiritual thing. This is scientific because our heart gives off there's so many neurons in our heart. So that echo chamber, there's so much that we receive, and our heart holds so much. And this is where we want to make all decisions.
Love that. Yeah, you're right. I remember seeing something recently. We talked about the radius of, what our heart gives off, and then the radius of what a horse's heart gives off. And kind of explaining one of the reasons why we connect so well with them is because they have such a big radius around their hearts on that frequency, if you will. Um, I know there's going to be somebody listening, and they're going to say, "Okay, what the heck does that mean? Heart coherence with the mind."
I like to say it like this: imagining as if you're in a room and you're in a dark room, but you can't see anything. You turn on the lamp, and the lamp is great. You can see the lamp, you can see the light, but there's still a little bit dim. That's like when your brain turns on. You're like, okay, my mind is working. But when you have the sun come in and the sun is shining through, you're receiving all of the vitamins, the energy. It's like natural lighting. You can see so much brighter. That's how I like to correlate with really just explaining that in simple forms of that's heart coherence. It's like the extra light bulb that comes on that really connects your entire mind body system.
That's a good example. And I know a lot of people will say, "Well, I know that in my head, but I just don't feel it in my heart." And it's like, well, that's a signal right there.
And that's why I talked about gratitude. So, actually, here, if someone's listening, that's the simplest way that you can get in heart coherence. No, you don't have to go and buy a heart math and do all of the things to help you measure this. This is about allowing gratitude to sink into your heart. You can wake up, you can maybe even sit in a 5-minute meditation, sit with gratitude. Think about even a time in your place in your life where you're so grateful, feeling that in chest and visualizing, and then coming back out, even just giving yourself 5 minutes, come back out and go right back into what you were going to do. I guarantee you're going to go into it completely different, not only just because you're going to feel calm, you're going to feel a bit different because that's heart coherence.
Yeah, I love that. And anyone who's listening, going, "Okay, I still don't get it," just try. Once you experience it, you'll be like, "Oh, got it. Okay, now I know what that is."
Exactly. That's my favorite thing too. It's like I I say that about things that I've never done before. And then, oh, but have I tried it? That's how we are as humans, how we evolve as humans. We're all here to help each other grow. And so I want every single listener to hear this, that nothing in your life has to be perfect. Nothing has to be permanent. You take your practices with you. Every single thing that you do, eat, watch, sleep, consume, it's not about a competition, and it's not about perfection. It's about allowing you to live from abundance, allowing you to make those choices that's going to not only elevate you, but help you feel so good. So then when you get that off, you're going to attract everything else in your life. And that's the play. It's the play that we get to do.
I love that. And you made me think of something that I think trips a lot of people up. They might be listening to this and going, "Okay, that's cool and all, but so do I just have to pretend like nothing's hard, like my life is hunky dory?" And I want to make sure we address that. You
Yeah.
don't have to have that. That's what toxic positivity or the spiritual bypassing or whatever you want to call it. So I'd love to hear your take on that.
Love this topic. So I've done a lot of different with different life coaches, as well as through the workings of the mind and our subconscious and all of that. And I still have yet years of more experience to go through. And that's what I love about the journey of life. I am you and we are one. So we're all the same. And we're always in this life loop. And I always like to say it as this. I have this diagram that I've created before where, when we start to think about dysregulation or overwhelm or discussion, you're in this loop because you're constantly going through all of these different things in your life. And when things are really hard. And yes, that's where all of this comes in, because when it's really hard and you're still doing the things maybe that makes it worse, sometimes there's things outside of you or people that are hurting you. Maybe you're grieving, whatever it is, we have the ability to emotionally regulate, right? And so we want to move up the scale of consciousness, not in a way of skipping, because it's actually impossible to go from depression to love. But I will share this: unconditional love will heal all. And that's actually going to help you move up the scale even just slightly. Gratitude, like you're sprinkling in all of these different things to help you move. You're acknowledging. You always want to acknowledge everything in your life. I understand. I understand you. Thank you so much. Yes, I allow myself to be the be the embodied leader of my mission. I understand you. Or maybe you take a whole entire day and you're like, I'm not going to do anything because I need to sit with this. That's the whole part about healing, as well as healing your nervous system. And then one last thing I actually do want to share is, if you're listening to this right now, and maybe you are in a journey right now of practicing and healing your nervous system and learning, I want to share this message with you that your patience is going to blossom, and you are in a process right now of self-study, and that it might feel like it's really far away, but it's not. And you're giving your body and your mind and your spirit an entire reset that's going to completely transform your life. So keep staying in it, stay with it. And I know it's hard sometimes when you're in it and you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm still experiencing, maybe it's panic attacks or whatever. Keep going, because you're going to discover more ways that will really bless you.
Yes, 100%. It's having these tools makes it so much easier to go through all the hard things that we must endure to become the next version of ourselves. And for me, any hard time that I've experienced, I have discovered either what value of mine is being trampled on, like, so then it's really showing me what my values are,
Yeah.
or showing me like, ooh, I really see this as an injustice. Maybe that's part of my purpose, is to help, correct that and help others not experience that. Um, yeah, I do have a tendency to, though, to stop thinking about myself and immediately think about others. So I have to watch that and make sure that I will go ahead and sit with it a little bit for myself. And then, because I know as women, sometimes we'll jump into our work or we'll jump into helping others, and we'll kind of bypass experience, moving through it, metabolizing it ourselves. So
Mm,
I'm glad that you
that-
brought that up.
and men, and for men too. And I work with men as well. And that's the thing is, no, you don't have to go and take 2 hours. I love that you said that. But sometimes you do. You're going to learn more about what is it that you need that day. And maybe it is that you take an entire day off and you realize, oh my gosh, not only did that help me in turmoil, but it's now when I go back, you're healed and everyone else gets to experience you. So you're just letting yourself live the life of exactly what you shared, not bypassing feeling it to heal, but the other side of the life loops, that's literally the journey and the dance of life.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Mary Hope, where can people reach out to you and connect with you? Speaking of connection.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Chrissy. You can reach out to me with on Instagram. It's Mary Hope Coach, or you can email me maryhopecoach at gmail.com. I'm actually currently in a prosperous launch right now where I'm giving away 100 free sessions. This is not a pitch, or I'm not going to pitch you or charge you for this session. I'm actually in the process of really experimenting my new methodology, and I want as many people to experience this work. So that's currently going as well. So if that feels aligned to you, Chrissy, as well, you're more than welcome to book a session with me. And I'd love to be able to pour into all of you guys.
That's amazing. I love that you're using kind of that as a playground to see, does this methodology that you're working on, is it landing for you? That's awesome. Congrats on coming up with one too.
Oh, thank you.
That is really cool because anytime you can have your own IP or your own way of doing something, that's really where the secret sauce is. So kudos.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest, and we'll make sure we put that in the show notes because that's a super huge deal for sure.
Oh, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this, Chrissy.
It went by fast, and
Yeah.
I know I was a little scattered at times because my brain lately has just like ding, 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 and I'm like, wait, what thought am I supposed to focus on right now? And so I think I talked about it at the beginning. I have struggled this week on like focusing and with my nervous system. So this was a well timed conversation.
I had so much fun with you, and I loved all your questions.
Well, thank you. Well, I hope to be an example of just showing up and letting a conversation go where it's intended to go, where it's meant to go. And if someone judges me because I was a little bit like squirrel,
I actually love. I want to reflect this back to you. I'm more connected to you now, even from this podcast, and I even if I was one of your listeners, like I'm so connected to even your story. I could hear pieces of your story. I loved the color box that you talked about, the yellow lunch box. Like I'm just reflecting that back to you. That was I think that was really fun to hear you be able to just express who you are. You're in the middle of a move and all these different things. So I just felt a lot of pure authenticity from you.
aw, thank you. That's one of my
Yeah,
goals. I strive for elegance over perfection. That's my goal.
I love that.
So thank you so much, Mary Hope.
Thank you so much.